Manchester United adding Aurelien Tchouameni to the Casemiro replacement shortlist sounds impressive until you ask the rude question. Is this a midfield fix or another expensive mood board? Because a shortlist is not a bid, and a famous name is not a cure for transition chaos. If United get this read wrong again, next season will look painfully familiar before autumn even settles in. Glad to have you back with Just Soccer, because this Manchester United story gets interesting the second you stop admiring the name and start asking what problem they are actually trying to solve. We may as well start where the noise is loudest. This one already has the ingredients for a rumor storm, so the first job is to keep both feet on the ground. Man United add Aurelien Tchouameni to shortlist as Casemiro replacement search continues. This is a shortlist story, not a deal story, and football keeps pretending those are the same thing because it looks better on a thumbnail. Aurelien Tchouameni is a serious midfielder, but Manchester United's bigger problem is whether they are choosing the right profile or simply the most flattering name available. ESPN reports that Manchester United have added Real Madrid midfielder Aurelien Tchouameni to their shortlist as they continue the search for a Casemiro replacement. That wording matters. Added to a shortlist means interest, evaluation, and planning. It does not mean a bid has gone in, it does not mean a fee is being negotiated, and it definitely does not mean personal terms are somehow done in the background while everyone winks at each other. Still, the name tells you a lot about how United see the hole in their squad. Tchouameni represents defensive control, power, and the kind of midfield presence that can stop matches from turning into 40-yard recovery sprints every time possession breaks down. On paper, that makes perfect sense. In practice, there is an obvious problem staring back at them. He is a Real Madrid player. Writing a name on a shortlist is the easy part. Building an actual path out of Madrid is where these glamorous ideas usually meet reality and start sweating. The supporter split around this one is fair, and honestly, it is healthier than blind excitement. Some fans look at Tchouameni and see the safe upgrade, the cleaner and younger answer to a role that badly needs fresh legs. Others ask whether United need a different profile altogether, someone who changes the rhythm of the midfield rather than simply refreshing the same job title. Reports suggest only that he has been added to the shortlist. If that gets inflated into proof of a solved rebuild, then the club will be getting credit for homework it has only just started. Not every useful story comes wrapped in transfer smoke. Sometimes the better clue about a club is the player already sitting in the squad, waiting for the moment when excuses disappear. Freddie Woodman opens up after Liverpool deep end moment in first top flight appearance. Backup goalkeepers are ignored right up until the day they become the entire conversation. Then suddenly everybody acts shocked that the position matters. Freddie Woodman's attitude is not a throwaway detail. Calmness from a reserve goalkeeper can affect short-term planning more than 100 speculative links to someone else. The Guardian focuses on Freddie Woodman's reflections after his first top-flight appearance for Liverpool, and the important point is what the piece is not. This is not a transfer hint. It is not a loan teaser. It is not one of those interviews people strip for hidden clues because they are bored between fixtures. The story is about experience, pressure, and readiness after being thrown into the highest level without much warning. Woodman describing the experience as being chucked into the deep end is about as honest as football language gets. That is the reserve goalkeeper life at a major club. You train in the background, you stay ready, and then one day the stadium expects you to behave like all of this is perfectly normal. There is no warm-up season for that role. Every catch looks louder, every pass gets judged harder, and one slight wobble can create a week of panic that somehow becomes your entire public identity. What makes the story useful for Liverpool is the tone around his response. Fans seem to like the attitude, and you can see why. The reporting centers on readiness rather than movement, which means the immediate question is not where he goes next, but whether he can be trusted when called upon again. That matters for squad planning. Clubs love talking about depth until depth actually has to play. Liverpool now have a goalkeeper speaking like someone who believes he belongs in that environment, and whether the staff share that belief will shape minutes, pressure management, and short-term confidence inside the squad. From Liverpool's depth chart to Barcelona's dugout, the next story is about stability of a different kind. At that club, even a calm sentence can carry the energy of a minor earthquake. Hansi Flick confirms he wants to renew his Barcelona contract. When a Barcelona manager talks long-term, he is not just speaking to supporters. He is speaking to the board, the dressing room, and every outsider wondering whether the project will wobble again. The caution is simple and necessary. Wanting to renew is not the same as having a signed renewal, and Barcelona have given people plenty of reasons not to confuse intention with paperwork. ESPN reports that Hansi Flick has confirmed he wants to renew his Barcelona contract, and he has framed that intention in even stronger terms by saying he wants to end his career at the club. That is not light language. It is a serious public statement, especially at Barcelona, where long-term planning often feels like a beautiful theory interrupted by immediate drama. The key distinction, though, cannot be lost. This is his intention, not an official announcement of a signed new deal with dates and terms attached. That still makes it significant. Managers do not speak like this by accident. A line about finishing at Barcelona tells the board that he sees something worth committing to, tells the squad that he wants continuity, and tells supporters that he is not treating the role like a short stop on the way to somewhere else. After disappointment in Europe, a lot of Barcelona fans are not looking for poetry. They are looking for signs that the club can stay on one path for more than 5 minutes, and Flick has offered exactly that kind of signal. Of course, this club has a habit of making every calm moment feel temporary. That is why skepticism belongs in the room. Saying you want to end your career at Barcelona is a huge claim at one of the least patient institutions in football. It sounds reassuring today. It also creates a standard. If performances drift, if pressure builds, or if the board starts twitching, that romantic line will not protect anybody. For now, what is real is his stated desire to renew and stay. What is not real, at least yet, is a completed renewal sitting on the table. That brings us to one of the day's rare gifts, a story with actual clarity. No decoding required, no dramatic reading of body language, no rumor account claiming exclusive access to obvious facts. Arsenal forward Stina Blackstenius signs new contract. Retention can be smarter than novelty, even if it gets less applause. Football loves the new toy and often forgets the value of keeping a proven one. Arsenal women are protecting squad structure here. That may not trend as loudly as a fresh signing, but it is the sort of move that keeps the summer from becoming unnecessarily chaotic. BBC Sport reports that Stina Blackstenius has signed a new 2-year contract with Arsenal, and this one is official confirmation of a renewal. Beautiful, clean, civilized. We do not have to translate vague wording or pretend a cloud of speculation is somehow equal to signed paperwork. Arsenal have made the decision and the contract is done. That matters because squad building is not just about who arrives in a big reveal video. It is also about what a club refuses to lose. Blackstenius gives Arsenal an established attacking option with experience, familiarity, and an understanding of the demands around the team. Continuity in the forward line can spare a side from turning every new season into a chemistry test conducted at full speed under competitive pressure. Supporters reacting positively makes complete sense because this is not abstract planning. Keeping a trusted player protects the structure of the squad and gives the summer a firmer shape before other decisions start moving around it. There is no need to drag in unrelated men's transfer chatter or decorate this with nonsense about hidden clauses that have not been reported. The fact is enough on its own. Stina Blackstenius has signed a new 2-year contract with Arsenal, and that gives Arsenal women certainty in a position where certainty is useful. From continuity to change, and this one is not subtle, Bournemouth have not flirted with a reset. They have chosen one, signed it, and put a date on it. Bournemouth confirmed Marco Rose will take over from Andoni Iraola as head coach. Managerial change is usually sold as fresh energy, but fresh energy can also mean fresh confusion if the squad is not built for the new demands. The mixed reaction from Bournemouth supporters feels fair. Marco Rose brings a defined idea, yet defined ideas still need players, adaptation, and patience that clubs do not always possess. The Guardian reports that Bournemouth have confirmed Marco Rose will take over from Andoni Iraola as head coach this summer, and that Rose has signed a 3-year deal starting then. There is very little ambiguity here, which already separates it from most coaching stories. He is the successor, the timeline is set, and the contract length is part of the reporting. Compared with the usual theater of leaks, denials, and mysterious confidence from unnamed insiders, this is almost suspiciously straightforward. Now comes the part where everybody runs ahead of the facts and starts building imaginary transfer windows around a manager who has not even started the job yet. That is where some discipline is useful. Supporters seem mixed, and rightly so. One side sees Rose and imagines a more aggressive pressing identity, a sharper edge, and a club trying to push upward with intent. The other side worries about disruption, because changing a coach always sounds cleaner on announcement day than it looks once players have to unlearn old habits under summer heat and public expectation. The responsible read stays close to what is actually known. There are no specific incoming signings attached to Rose in the reporting, and there is no need to invent a shopping list just because a new coach sounds exciting. What Bournemouth have definitely done is commit to Marco Rose on a 3-year deal beginning this summer. That decision will shape the tactical identity of the team, the kind of players the club values next, and the pressure level around the project if early results wobble. Now to a story that cuts through football's usual sentimental fog. Not every departure needs sad music, and not every honest answer needs softening for public comfort. Quansah, leading Liverpool to join Leverkusen, was a no-brainer. Jarell Quansah calling the move a no-brainer is blunt, but blunt can be refreshing when the logic is obvious. Playing time still beats romance for a defender trying to build a real career. Liverpool supporters mostly accepting that reasoning says something good as well. Fans can understand a development move without pretending every exit is betrayal or every farewell needs mythology. Sky Sports reports that Jarell Quansah said leaving Liverpool to join Bayer Leverkusen was a no-brainer, and the piece also touches on his England World Cup ambitions. That gives the decision a very clear frame. This was not sold as a dramatic fallout or an emotional rupture. It was a football calculation from a player who wants his career to move forward at a serious speed. What makes the quote land is how little decoration it needs. Most players are trained to answer these things like diplomats on zero sleep. Quansah did the opposite. He made the decision sound practical and obvious. For a young center back, that is hard to argue with. Development in that position depends on rhythm, responsibility, and repeated exposure to real pressure. You do not build that properly by collecting encouraging pats on the back while watching from the bench. Liverpool fans largely seem to understand the rationale, which is healthier than the usual online melodrama. Bayer Leverkusen offers a strong platform, and Quansah is openly linking the move to bigger ambitions with England. The interview should not be stretched into some giant theory about future market business, because it does not need that baggage. The concrete story is already strong. He believes leaving Liverpool for Leverkusen was the right football decision, and he is measuring that decision against a World Cup chase that will not wait for sentiment. That Liverpool thread gets wider here, because one story is about a player leaving for a clearer path, and the next is about the club trying to keep its own path steady at the top level. Slot expected to stay at Anfield next season as Liverpool close in on Champions League qualification. Expectation is not the same thing as formal contract news, but it still matters because clubs plan differently when the manager's future looks settled rather than foggy. Champions League qualification changes the mood around everything. Stability sounds much more convincing when elite competition and its money are almost back in the room. Sky Sports News understands that Arne Slot is expected to continue as Liverpool head coach next season, with that expectation linked to Liverpool closing in on Champions League qualification. Again, the wording matters. Expected to stay is not the same as a contract extension being signed and presented, so there is no reason to turn informed expectation into a fake official announcement. Football does that enough already. Even without a formal renewal angle, the significance is obvious. If Liverpool are moving into the next season with Slot in place, then the summer starts to look like a build rather than a reset. That affects squad planning, role clarity, and the confidence with which the club can speak to players already inside the group, as well as those watching from outside. Continuity in the dugout is not glamorous, but it is useful, and useful is often worth more than glamorous by November. The Champions League piece is crucial because it changes the temperature of the whole discussion. Stability feels stronger when it is backed by competitive progress, rather than sold as a consolation prize. Supporters seeing that is good for recruitment are probably right, though that does not mean any specific transfer business should be treated as done. What we have is this: Arne Slot is expected to stay, Liverpool are closing in on Champions League qualification, and those two realities make the club's summer look far more coherent than chaotic. Before we close, one story today has nothing to do with transfers or contracts and still says a lot about modern football. The game has a wonderful talent for chasing microscopic advantages until common sense starts looking old-fashioned. Soccer's incredible shrinking shin guards could be a dangerous problem. If players think shin guards the size of a small notebook make them faster, football may have wandered into its placebo phase. The shin, sadly, remains committed to basic anatomy. This is exactly the kind of trend people laugh off until one ugly injury turns it into a full-blown panic. By then, the warning was already right there in public. ESPN looks at the trend of shrinking shin guards, with some players believing much smaller protection makes them faster, while others around the game fear it could become a serious injury problem. The visual alone tells the story. These are not slightly adjusted shin guards. Some are so reduced that they look less like proper protection and more like a legal loophole wrapped in tape. The logic from players is easy enough to understand on the surface. Less bulk, lighter feel, maybe more comfort when turning or accelerating. Footballers are forever hunting marginal gains, and not every small preference is ridiculous. But this one raises a pretty unforgiving question. If the guard barely covers the shin, are we still talking about safety equipment? Or are we just pretending because the rules technically require something there? A challenge arriving at full speed does not care about fashion or perceived freedom of movement. What makes this worth taking seriously is how trends spread. Elite players do it, younger players copy it, and soon a risky habit starts feeling normal because it looks common. Then one bad collision changes the tone overnight, and everybody suddenly acts as if no one could have seen it coming. Right now, the story is a warning rather than a scandal. Some players think smaller shin guards help them. Others think the game is drifting toward avoidable injury, and that argument will get a lot louder the moment the next nasty impact lands. That is the pattern across tonight's episode. Manchester United have a glamorous midfield name on a short list but not a deal. Barcelona have a manager speaking in long-term language without a completed renewal. Bournemouth have made a hard coaching choice with real tactical consequences. Arsenal have locked in proven continuity. Liverpool are balancing development with managerial stability. And even the shin guard story asks whether football is chasing image over substance again. Strip away the presentation, and the same challenge keeps appearing. Are clubs and players making decisions that truly solve something, or are they just borrowing the look of a plan? That answer shows up later in the table, in the treatment room, or under pressure when the easy headlines have already moved on.